time to record. And so, yay. So I am so excited to see you. For those of you, I think you guys who are here know how much I love Amadea, but let me just tell everybody. I've known Amadea for at least, I figured, 20 years now. And we've been working together over the years. She's been an amazing support for me and a wonderful friend. And she's sincerely my favorite person in the universe. So it is thrilling to share her with you, first of all. And secondly, or maybe vice versa, to tell you that she's coming to Maryland soon. So she's going to be here in town live to give us a workshop.
And I'm just so excited to be here with you, Gina, because you have just so applied the teachings of Ayurveda and mindfulness and yoga in such positive ways for so many people. And I just really look forward to us getting to work together again, which has been a few years. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. So just the short story about Amadea is that she's a polarity therapist and an Ayurvedic educator for years. She's got a lot of wonderful books. Her Ayurvedic cookbook is a staple in my kitchen and actually needs to be stapled because all of the pages are falling out because I use it so much. It's really been absolutely just healing and heartwarming in every kind of way. So I know that a lot of the people, Amadea, that are joining us have a little bit of an inkling about Ayurveda, but I think the most common thing that I hear from people is that it's too complicated. And how could something so old actually matter to me in this 21st century world? I'm really busy and that sounds too hard.
Yeah, so today I'd like to offer 3 simple ways to use Ayurveda that are going to help us immediately.
Awesome.
Yeah. So the first one, there's something known as Marma therapy, which is touch therapy in Ayurveda. And there's simple points of energy that help bring healing and aliveness to that area. And what we're going to look at today is foot Marma points, because so much of what's happening in these days is that we're so up in our heads.
Yes.
And literally, touch can help us ground energy and begin to settle again. So the first thing I'd like to do is invite everyone to play with us a little bit by touching your feet. And we've got some diagrams here I think that we can use as guidance. So a Marma point is a spring point of energy, but really simply just touching your feet. Even if you don't have to worry about whether or not you're getting it exactly the right spot. We're going to show you some interesting spots. And yet simply holding your own feet can be a way to begin to bring that energy back down and ground. So our first step is simply grounding energy in this fast-paced world. And the first one I'd like to do is a Marma point known as Kashipra. And Kashipra literally means quick. So I figured Kashipra is a good one to start with.
So yeah. I found it. Hey, let me share it with you.
Good. Great. So Kashipra, literally, you see, it's the point between the toes. And while it shows the point between the big toe and the second toe, really it's between each toe. And I'm going to just be doing this on myself as we talk. So it's like, and you can do this too as you watch the video and join us. So if you just gently put your thumb and your forefinger just resting on your foot. So resting between the big toe and the second toe, and just gently work it a little bit, make little circles. Then head on down to the next toe, between the second and the third toes. And take a deep breath and just relax a little. Kashipra is literally here to start grounding the energy. You can move your touch to the next 2 toes, between the third and fourth toes. Can be work on either foot. And then finally say hi to the fourth and the fifth toes between that spot. And you can just maybe massage your foot a little bit if it's feeling chilly. It's winter here. And then we'll go on to the second place. So there's another place you can use on your foot to start bringing the energy into a grounded place. And that's Tala Hridaya.
Let me change feet.
Yeah. And these beautiful pictures are from Ayurveda and Marma therapy. by Doctors Frawley, Ronaday, and Lele. It's a great book if you're wanting. Yes, there it is.
Show you the book. I know it's backwards, but
yeah, yeah. It's an excellent book for starting to learn how to work with touch and self-care on your own from Ayurveda. So far so good. Not too complicated. So you're continuing to hold your foot, either foot, and we'll move on to Tala Hridaya, which is going to be on the sole of the foot. And literally, you're going to find your middle toe. And we're looking, so Gina, for some reason, I'm still looking at Kashipra. Have we got Tala Hridaya up there?
I do, but maybe, let's see. Let's try again.
Great sunshine colors.
See if that works.
Yeah, no.
No, that's Gopa. You have that?
Here we go. Great.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. So can everybody see Tala Hridaya?
Hi. We've got another participant.
Yes. You can also do Marma therapy with animals. They'll let you hold their feet as long as they will. So you'll see Tala Hridaya literally is Sanskrit for the heart of the soul. And it's another excellent point for inviting energy into the legs and feet and to ground energy. And prana or chi, our vital moving energy, tends to gather in hollows. And so the hollow that we're looking for here is if you find your middle toe and you climb over the ball of the foot and you end up in that valley, right? Yeah. Can you feel it? There's a little bit of a hollow there. There's the valley after the ball of the foot. And Tala Hridaya is a great point for bringing energy to the legs and feet, for grounding energy. And it's also used in the Hakomi therapy for working with stress and trauma. So if there's a little bit of a buzz at this point, we can simply hold until things settle a little bit. Simply putting your hands or, a finger on this point helps settle energy and begin to process old kinds of stresses. How's that feel?
One more thing, Amadea. I know that I have some people that have trouble touching their feet. And so what I've done is ask them to stand on a tennis ball.
Hi.
So that you're at least giving some pressure to that point.
Yeah.
And it's often tender, at least in my experience, because I think most of us are not grounded and are, challenged by the busyness of this life.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point, Gina. And also, you could also use a roller or a pillow. Yeah. And then the last point would be if you can touch your ankles, it's a point known as Golpa. And
oops, that's you. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So Golpa here, it's shown, it's on the inside and the outside of the ankle, just below the ankle bone. And if you can head towards your ankle and be gently massaging it with both hands, this is a way to support your adrenals and also ground the energy.
Which we totally need.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what I would suggest is you just hold with one hand that heel, by the ankle bone, and the other if you can, Tala Hridaya, the middle of the sole, and take 3 deep breaths. Just thanking your whole body for being here. Yeah. Another easy way to work with these points is to put oil on our feet at bedtime. And literally it can help how deeply we sleep.
Yes, and it does.
Yeah. So that would be one way to work with things. Another way would be with food. Mm-hmm. And I've recently written a book with beautiful photographs by Renee Lynn. It's called Easy Healing Drinks from the Wisdom of Ayurveda. And one of the kinds of foods that we use in there are what are called veggie teas. And people oftentimes feel like, wow, how can I make anything of my own anymore? It's just things are so busy. And yet we've got two very simple recipes for you to try that take 5 to 10 minutes and taste delicious and also help you settle energy and meet the day. The first one is the sweet potato ginger tea. And literally all you're doing, gorgeous, is chopping up a sweet potato with a little bit of ginger, simmering it in a quart of water for 10 minutes, and then you drink the water. So this is a sweet drink without any sugar. It's grounding. I have one friend who uses it before bedtime. He finds it so sedative. It's just 3 ingredients plus water. And then when the veggies are done, you can use the veggies in a food dish. So the sweet potato ginger tea would be warming, strengthening, and grounding. Now, if you feel like sweet potato is too sweet for you, we've got another tea, which is called the green Dino Detox tea. And literally what you're simmering up here is dinosaur kale, onion, a little bit of lemon and ginger, and the famous Ayurvedic herb tulsi. Tulsi is good for the heart. It's strengthening for immunity. It's nice for curing colds. And it's also uplifting to the heart. So it's both strengthening for circulation and it's also uplifting for mood. So here we're combining a little bit of an herb with food as a way to strengthen the whole body. It's a lightly green tea in the sense of its color, and it's really good for detoxing, and yet it's also helpful for building bone because it's a rich source of calcium and minerals. So veggie teas are something that used to be called just plain old veggie water. You know, it's like the cooking water from the veggies, but it has a whole lot of phytonutrients in it that can help strengthen the body and also build plasma. But there's another kind of exotic one that's fun, that as spring comes, you can simmer up your asparagus with a little bit of saffron. Ooh. and put in some hot almond milk or hot whatever kind of milk you use. And it's a very rejuvenative one. Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's reminding me of your of the asparagus soup that I can't get enough of when asparagus season comes.
Yeah. This is similar in terms of deliciousness. Yeah, it's really, and also from easy healing drinks.
Yes.
Yeah. So the I also promised, as part of the 3 easy ways to work with Ayurveda, besides touch and drinks, we've also got herbs. And lots of times people can be intimidated by herbs. You know, it's like they have so many different actions. And yet what I wanted to focus on today was digestives. And we've actually seen a couple of examples of those already in the recipes. So something as simple as ginger can strengthen our digestive efficiency and also help us get more phytonutrients from our food. We can put it in food. Sometimes we can also just have a thin slice of ginger and nibble on it after a meal if we're feeling like, wow, that food just didn't quite move through the way I'd like it to. There's also really fun digestive spices that we already are familiar with, like cinnamon. So you can put cinnamon in something like an apple spice smoothie, or pumpkin spices in a pumpkin smoothie. And it's going to mean that you're going to be able to absorb it better. It's going to taste more fun. And this would be a classic way in Ayurveda to support digestion, the gateway to all 7 dhatus, which I'll be talking more about when I'm in Baltimore.
I mean, and that's such an important point. And I think that may well be the reason that I came to Ayurveda in the beginning, just because of digestive dis-ease.
Yeah.
And, to understand that health really does begin in your GI tract. It's not a no big deal when your food is not digesting. It is a big deal.
It's very, Yeah,
to
it can be.
learn how to what you can eat and how you can eat, and to really let this be a bit of like direct revelation too, so that you're not just following somebody's script.
Yeah.
You know, you're learning in your own being. When I eat this, I feel like that, which
And
is,
that's
I think, how all this came about, right?
and that's the exciting part about Ayurveda, is that it's very much an individualized system.
Yes.
So we're learning what works to bring us into balance, and what helps our loved ones or our friends or our students, or colleagues, isn't necessarily what works for us. And so it's really acknowledging that each of us is unique, and then we begin to trust, okay, so I know I need digestives, but is it going to be kind of a sweet digestive, like, cinnamon or cardamom? Or do I go more for things like cumin or coriander? So tarragon or oregano. So there's lots of different ways to play. And yet it's all about trusting ourselves and coming back into balance.
And I think that might be one of the places that people sort of get stuck with Ayurveda, because they get these lists.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're like this, do this and don't do that. And then they are paralyzed by the list instead of like, as you say, dance with it or play with it and say, this may not be true for me because I am not in the book. We're each unique. And that's something that has been healing for me in more ways than just digestively, to like really be clear that my only work here is to be me and to figure out what serves me, not in a selfish way, but in a, what can I do for me to come to my fullest?
Yeah, practical, because then you're going to, yeah.
And empowering, you see, that's the other piece of it. I think, that might be the other stumbling block for Ayurveda, where we've become accustomed to just giving ourselves up to our healthcare providers without really participating.
Yeah.
And to realize that we've got power in our own hands, to touch places, to make things different.
In our own teacups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the self-empowerment, for me at least, is really, really important.
I would also say that, in terms of a specific, it's like, as you're listening, if you're one of those people who has been given a list from an Ayurvedic doc or practitioner, I'd invite you to pull out that list and pick out the foods that are fun and entertaining for you, the foods that you really like. So you start with, rather than like trying to think, wow, I've got to do this whole list, you might find one thing on there like sweet potatoes or asparagus and go, I'm going to get friendly with that. So part of it is the myriad of details, and starting to make it simple enough that these are foods that I can handle. These are foods I like to cook or I know where to get. And I'm going to start playing with them. Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the empowerment is also that Ayurveda is a nature-based system, and we're nature-based. So it's like letting the affinity of who we are, that we're part of the 5 elements. We've got solid earth and moist water and the fire of our eyes and the temperature of our body. We've got our breath and we've got the space we occupy. And all of those things, Ayurveda can help us bring into balance. Without it can be as simple as touching our feet, or sipping a cup of hot veggie water.
Or even before that, noticing that you need to touch your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, because truly, that's where I started. It didn't occur to me that I could do anything. It's just like, something's just really wrong, and where's the answer? Instead of being curious and saying, okay, wait, what can I do? Not what can I not do, but what can I do? There are things that I can do that really nobody else can do, because it's me helping me. And that just helps me settle. So that I'm not wrong again or making another mistake. I'm tuning into myself and getting to know myself. And so, I teach mindfulness, but honestly, the depth of my mindfulness understanding and teaching totally comes from Ayurveda, because the way that worked was I had to pay attention to what I was doing to see whether it was true or false for me. And that way of paying attention is sort of the core of being mindful.
And that awareness, how I'm really appreciating how you're working with Ayurveda in this moment is through questions.
Mm.
It's like the questions are like, how can Ayurveda help me?
Yeah.
How can I apply Ayurveda in a way that works today? How can I apply Ayurveda in a way that's simple and has meaning? So they don't have to be flashy questions. I think if each person just came up with one question that they had, that they'd like to play with, that would be plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet we're just like really well trained to be good scholars.
Yeah.
So I don't just want to know whether sweet potatoes feel good for me today. I want to know the entirety of the Charaka Samhita. I want to read everything and know everything about Ayurveda before I can do it. And it's not like that.
No. Sometimes it can be wonderful to know that the golden veggies and the dark leafy greens, which are our featured recipes for today, are both rich in beta carotenes, and they're great for supporting tender tissues like mucous membranes and good for the liver. So it's like, yeah, these things that I love are also good for me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder if you'd be willing to say a little bit more about the Vata Pitta Kapha that you referred to in the recipes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are 3 biological energies that we all have. So it's not like one of us is all Vata and another one is all Pitta and somebody else is 100% Kapha. We're a mix of these energies. And so Vata is our airy, spacey, flexible, curious self. Yeah. It's the part that gets us moving. It's the part that gets us tapping our foot. It's the part that is also moving throughout the system in terms of the nervous system and the gut and everything. Whereas Pitta comes from fire and water, and it's our warm, assertive, transformative biological functions. So things like digestive enzymes are Pitta. That when we get angry or frustrated or really creative, like fiery creative, that's Pitta at work. The discerning wisdom, when we really look, we want to know, get to the bottom of something, that's Pitta, Sadhaka Pitta. And so we each have Pitta inside. If we tend toward running warmer, hotter rather than cooler, we may have a little more Pitta than Vata, which is a cool kind of dosha. So there's different qualities that each biological energy has. Kapha is a true friend in that it comes from earth and water. It's grounding. It's solid. It's the part of us that's slow and steady and and not going to change quickly. So while Vata is like cool, dry, and fast, we would describe Kapha as that part of us that's solid, slow, and steady. So we have, sometimes I talk about the doshas as being like a family, and because they have 3 such different, qualities to themselves, it can take some paying attention, some awareness, to be able to harmonize and invite each of these to get along well. And yet that is the goal, is that all the doshas be happy. And when all the doshas are happy, we won't even notice them. It's just, oh, thank goodness, the family is getting along harmoniously. Yeah.
So how do you feel, if I may, about everybody wants to take these quizzes to figure out how they are? And I'm always sort of saying, well, you can, but it's going to be pretty subjective. And then you might, if you are a list reader, then you might sort of go off on a path that's not going to serve you. So do you have any advice around people who are just like driven and feel it essential to know who they are and what they are?
Well, it is helpful. Sometimes it's helpful to get a second opinion, because we can kid ourselves. And yet another way to work with it is, I have 3 cheater questions that I could offer to our audience today. So the the first question would be, how do you respond under stress? And the choices, if it was multiple choice, would be, well, I get worried or fearful, or I get mad, or I tend to withdraw. Now, somebody out there is going to say, oh, I do all of those, and that I honor that. But if there's one that you do more than the others, that can be an indicator of your current biological condition. So the person with more vata is more likely to get worried under stress. The person that gets mad is more likely to have more pitta. And the one that wants to withdraw or get kind of sad will be the kapha. So we can watch our own, the lists are interesting, and you can play with the lists. And yet going back to like, okay, so how do I feel now? What am I aware of now? This would be one way to assess. Another one of those three questions would be, what's my favorite climate? Like what climate feels really soothing for me? And if we're more vata, we're likely to go for warm and moist. If we're pitta, it's more like fresh air. And for kapha, oftentimes it's a dry place, like the Southwest attracts kaphas. It's like that big. And this also touches on something in Ayurveda. We work with opposites. So kapha tends to be cool and moist. So an area that's dry will tend to be relieving. Pitta tends to be hot, so fresh air and coolness will balance that. Whereas vata being cool and dry, the warmth and the moisture of some place like the tropics can be like, thank goodness, I can ground. And then the last observation is not so much an awareness kind of a question as going back and looking at one of your pictures when you were a kid, or thinking back in your mind, and looking at bone structure. So it's like someone, if we look at our own bone structure, if we look at our wrists and our ankles, say, check out those wrists and ankles. The vata is going to have a lighter bone structure. The pitta is going to have a medium bone structure. Yeah. And the kapha is going to have a more solid bone structure. And so kapha sometimes is depicted as heavy, but it's really more, when we've got a good amount of kapha, we're dense. So we may not look chunky, but if you were to pick us up, wow, that person has density. Whereas vata is more light and butterfly-like. So the bone structure that we came in with really is also an indicator of what our original constitution was. Yes. We can also change some. That's, in Ayurveda, we talk about constitution, which is the balance of the three doshas that we came in with at birth. And then we talk about our current condition, because things change. And so those doshas may have changed since childhood. And so we may be working to calm a different dosha at this point in our lives, or it may be the same one. Does that make sense?
It does make sense to me. and I don't mean to keep going back to the same point, but I think that the other valuable thing besides figuring out what to eat and where to live is it brings us to this curiosity and again, trust, to like really tune in to who you are and what brings you to your best. And at least in my teaching, and in my own life, which is how it always works, right? Me first. I recognize these things, which is why I recognize them in my students. Many of us have lost the capacity to be even curious about this moment because we're too busy thinking about the next thing and the last thing. And so Ayurveda, yes, indeed, is beautiful for balancing in every way. But I think in this busy world, it's not just about the food. And sometimes people get, I think, a little tangled up in the food and the dosha of it all. But it's really also the quality, like, can I just be here now and see what is true instead of putting a label on it and like putting a stamp like you're vata and that's how you are. And now we're done. Yeah. Because I'm watching myself, I'm very, very vata, but as I do more healing work, I'm like, wait, where's all this heat coming from? Because I know that I'm vata and pitta, and I'm like, oh, so this is either a problem or it might be an indication that vata is finally settling down enough for pitta to go, excuse me, like, I've been here all along and you've not had time to notice me.
Exactly. And the other thing about noticing is noticing what works for us. And at one point in my practice, on my intake forms, I wrote at the top, what works for you? What do you know works for you? And it's a question I like to ask my clients, especially new clients, a lot, because we do know a lot about what works for us. And so an example of that would be beyond food. For example, some people, when they're working with sleeping, there's a lot of focus on what we do before bedtime, and that's an important issue. You know, grounding, settling, oiling the feet. You know, maybe having some kind of warm milk, and yet what we do earlier in the day can make a big difference. And some of my clients really are aware of this. You know, like one client I'm working with says, you know, my bedtime routine starts with whether or not I eat healthy foods. Mm-hmm. Another one says, you know, if I get a good long walk or even some walk in each day, I'm more likely to sleep more deeply. And so that's trusting our own inner wisdom, and our inner wisdom will naturally bring the doshas into balance. You know, so that's one of the issues I think in such a busy life as we have in the 21st century is saying, you know, so it's after lunch and we're about to charge to the next thing, and wait, I've got to get out there and get a walk or else I won't sleep as well tonight, you know. It's, and yet, a lot of Ayurveda is very common sense. It's very common sense.
And yet me and many of the people I know ignore our wisdom.
Yeah.
To just keep doing the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's so many ways that this like 10,000-year-old thing, you know, is like 100% necessary in the crazy busyness of this world in which we live.
Yeah. And even there, it's interesting because Ayurveda says there's 6 steps in getting out of balance. And we don't have to go through all 6 of those in the moment, but it's interesting because in the first 2 steps of getting out of balance, we still have healthy cravings, you know, so we'll still go, wow, I need to slow down, or wow, I need some grounding food, or hey, I'm thirsty right now. You know, so in the first 2, we can still be kind of heading out of balance and still be like, yes, I'm aware of my own wisdom. What happens in the last 4 stages of getting out of balance is we're so out of balance that we'll do, you know, like we've run around so much that we keep running around even when we get home, you know. So you can kind of assess for yourself how out of balance you are also by like, how hard is it for me to drag myself back to like center, you know? Yeah.
Or for example, to know that you have headaches when you eat chocolate and have 2 pieces.
Right.
Like, okay, that's not a good idea.
Or if you had that chocolate before 7 p.m., you can pull it off. But if you have it after, you know, for some people. Yeah. So it's like, and honoring what we know about ourselves. Yeah.
And that's huge work for most of us.
Yeah.
Because we've become so accustomed to not doing that.
And also what you were saying about being disempowered and trusting somebody more than ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of times we know what we need. And so it's like supporting ourselves, not abandoning ourselves, but to like, yeah, I will be aware, and I am gonna just open to my own healing right this minute.
Somebody else can absolutely tell me something that they think I need, but then I have to take it in and digest it in my own way and see whether that's true for me.
Exactly.
Not coming from here, but really from, does that feel like the truth to me?
Yeah.
And that's one of the most important pieces of Ayurveda that I carry with me all the time. It's like, you know, that like present moment, direct information from me to me that I'm able to take in, that I'm not editing, that I'm not, yeah, no, but chocolate's probably fine. It'll probably be fine. It's not probably fine today. So I know that. So I, you know, to start to like, not let it be punishment, but just let it be wisdom.
Exactly. And trusting our wisdom. Yeah. Trusting our wisdom. Yeah.
Because I carry around and I tell everybody over and over, including myself, you know, that notion, you just used the word abandonment. I mean, I say this so much. We have to stop abandoning ourselves. Yeah. This is what we are accustomed to doing. It's what we're trained to do. And so, you know, to really come back home and say, look, this is where I live. This is the only home I have. And I can learn how to live in it and take care of it in the best kind of way so that I can be my best.
And that also gathers our power in a way that makes us effective in the world.
Yes.
So however much, it's important for us to be gathered and centered, because there's a lot going on right now, and we want to meet it, as the pit in me will say, fiercely. the vata will say, with openness, and the kapha will say, steadily and groundedly.
Yes.
And we want to gather that energy because each of us is an important ingredient in what's in the whole soup. Yeah. And this soup needs our focused energy. It's important not to be distracted and to know what we came for. And each of us has come here for something really important, which is being us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to meet whatever challenges arise with calmness and clarity and equanimity, rather than being reactive because I'm so out of balance.
Yeah. But the other thing is sometimes we'll meet it with like chaos and havoc, and maybe in some moments it can be so tough. It's like all you can ask yourself, well, is this a tragedy or a black comedy? And if you can move it toward black comedy, it's great when we can be calm. And there's times when it's like, ha, and then we also stick with ourselves.
And it's even the recognition, though. It's just coming off of the automatic pilotness of it.
Yes.
And being with yourself as you are, instead of just being like, if somebody says this, I always say that. And if somebody does this, I always do that. It's like, wait, like what's called for in this moment? Even if I do react, I notice that I'm reacting.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, why is everybody so mad at me? I didn't do anything, because I didn't actually hear or see what I have just said and done. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we didn't go too far off track. I could talk to you, for 1,000 years about all of the power and magic of Ayurveda. But I do want to spend a few moments, unless there are only a couple of people on the call. Does anybody have any questions? Those of you who are here, if you have a question, and you do not have to be seen, you could either type a question in the chat, or you could raise your hand and just use the audio. Yes, I see you, but I don't see a name. But welcome.
Oh, this is Amanda. I don't know.
Amanda!
I don't know. I'm on my phone. I'm not on it, so I don't know. I think I just unmuted myself, but I do have.
I hear you, and you look like
feedback.
A beautiful green phone. So yeah. Awesome.
Good. This has been so helpful. I hopped on just a little bit late, and I've been reading about Ayurveda and really, and I think that's what everybody says, right? You read all about it, and I think, this has really resonated with me because I get really overwhelmed about it, quite honestly. Probably because, all of the 3 different constitutions, it's like, well, I'm primarily these 2, and then you end up, saying, oh, well, if I'm vata kapha, I'm eating things that, aggravate vata and pacify kapha. You get so worked up in that, and this has been so refreshing to just hear, like, just listen, like, if you want to eat rice with ghee, don't be worried, like, that's okay to eat rice with ghee, even if it aggravates kapha. Like, if that's what you feel like eating and it makes you feel good, eat it. So thank you for that.
You're so welcome. And the other thing to look at too is, like, if there's lots of times, many of us are working with 2 doshas like vata and kapha, and what they've got in common is they're both cool. So it's like, you want to keep them warm. You want to, in order to keep them settled, you want to keep them warm. And maybe you can keep them both happy also with like a tiny bit of spice in that rice, like a little bit of cumin,
right,
a little bit of cardamom. So it doesn't have to be fancy, and as you say, it's like, oh, thank goodness, I'm just going to relax and do this.
Yeah, it's really nice. So thank you. Just thank you for that. I didn't really have any questions, but I appreciate the I'm excited about it. Listening to my intuition.
Great, exactly. That's exactly what we're talking about. Thank you so much.
And now, Amanda, you see why I've been telling you have to talk to Amadea, because she's got this like amazing, balanced, clear,
yes.
non-dogmatic way of working with Ayurveda, which is where I think we get into trouble with the lists and the rigidity. I mean, people are like, I can't have that. They won't let me eat that. And I know that that's not what Amadea is about. And so that's why I'm so thrilled that you're here listening to her today.
Oh yeah, it's been wonderful. And I will say too, one thing, and Gina, I'm going to surprise you when I say this, but I'm pregnant right now.
Oh my gosh,
and,
congratulations!
Thank you. So, it's been so interesting. It's been so interesting because since I've been pregnant, I feel like your body naturally calls you to eat things that your body needs. And I've never felt that way in my life. I feel like it's always been very impulsive. Like if something's in front of me, I'm eating it. And now it's like, don't want that. Yes, I want this. And so it's so interesting. I've been eating a ton of like citrus, and that's been, and people talk about these cravings during pregnancy, but I really have been embracing this whole idea that like, I really feel very connected to myself in this. I feel like it's really honed in my senses. So that's interesting to me, and I hope that doesn't go away after I have a baby, and all of a sudden I go back to this like gluttonous. But I've noticed that, and it's been really nice.
And it's your own wisdom. It's not going to go away. It's
right.
Yeah, and it's a touch point. Like it's like such a vivid experience that it's like something you'll be able to remember. That trust in the intuition. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations, dear heart. I'm so tickled for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody else have a question? All right. Well, how about if I bring up then if I can find it. Let's see if I can share this. Yeah, so the good news is that Amadea is coming to town. And we'll be here March the 17th and 18th, talking about more of the same. There are 2 opportunities for you to see her. And I'm going to send this very email out after the recording with the replay. But there are 2 opportunities to meet her. And I wonder, Amadea, you have anything that you'd like to add to this description of the talk that you'll do when you're here?
Well, just that, we'll be doing, we'll be learning about how to support all 7 tissues. And that's something that's a little new for people. And I'll be talking more about that when I come. And in terms of building our tissues, each of us is in a different place. And so we want to look at how we'll do that. If you're there, I get a chance to play with you and answer questions directly and specifically and individually. And so I really look forward to working with whoever does come these 2 days. And I'll also be talking more about how to create easy foods for yourself, in particular, easy healing drinks.
Yeah.
And so that will be, I'll be working from my new book, The Easy Healing Drinks from the Wisdom of Ayurveda. And I'd like to give people ideas for how to use simple foods in their own lives, then. So those I think would be some of the main things. I'm always big on experiential and trusting ourselves and figuring out like some simple takeaways. You're likely to learn 2 or 3 specific things that you would like to be able to do in your own life from these talks. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing people. I also would like to offer one last kind of grounding Marma experience before we close, Gina, if that's possible.
Of course.
So on this one, if you can put your feet on the ground, if it's possible, or if you're in a cross-legged position, that's fine too. So we're going to rub the palms of our hands together. And may this help everybody, so may this help every cell, may this help everybody. And we're going to put, I don't know, sometimes the Zoom mirrors things, but I'm going to put my right hand on my chest and my left hand on my belly. And I especially want you to notice that left hand. If it's comfy, if it's easy for you to focus with your eyes closed, you can. We're sending love to the belly. This is a nice one to do before meals, or any time when you feel like you would like to ground and settle. So I'm inviting you to take 3 deep breaths at your own pace, sending love and comfort to the belly. And then if you could just send as you're opening your eyes, if you could just send a smile out into the universe as nourishment for everyone. Just smiles as nourishment and blessing. And I just want to thank you so much, Gina, for arranging this and for continuing to dance together as a friend and colleague.
Yes, indeed.
In this work.
Well, this for me is one of the good things about technology. I'm not crazy about it, but to be able to be in your presence when you're not physically here is just above and beyond for me, because you know how much I love you and love all that you've done. You've changed my life in innumerable ways. So I'm just grateful, more grateful than I can say. And I'm thrilled to be able to share you with the rest of my world.
Yeah, so, I'll be coming soon.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you from my heart. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope that everybody will enjoy reviewing this video. And please, 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 if there's somebody that you know who may not be on my email list that may be interested, please do forward all of this information to them, because I think we'll have plenty of space. I didn't know if I said this, you've probably read it, but one of the workshops is in Hamden. So if you have city dwelling people, that'll be close for them. The other workshop is at Raz Yoga in Jacksonville. So that'll get all of the country mice coming together, and if they don't want to cross boundaries. So I think there's an opportunity for everyone. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you, and I hope you'll decide to join us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We will have books, right? We'll have some books available to sign. And if you have a book, I bet Amadea would be happy to sign it if you bring it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, my dears.
Thank
you from my heart. If there are any questions, please shoot me an email. You'll have Amadea's website and information in the coming MailChimp campaign. So please check out all of her amazing work. And if I can be any assistance, or if she can, shoot us emails.
I'm so looking forward to coming.
I can't wait to see you. It's been way too long.
Good. Take care.
Yay. All right. Thank you all. Enjoy the sunshine if you're here in Maryland. And I know it's sunny in New Mexico, because it always is. Unless our curse has not been broken.
It's true. It's true. When Gina and I get together, it tends to snow. And it is. And it's threatening here now.
All right. Well, just so it changes its mind by the time March comes.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So much love to all of you joining us. So much love to you, my teacher and friend. I'll see you soon. All right. Bye now.
Bye.